In England, in the year 1127 AD, a group of Crusader knights bury a mysterious Egyptian ruby inside the tomb of one of their own. Centuries later, in present-day London, a construction crew accidentally unearths that same tomb during excavation work. A mysterious man named Dr. Henry Jekyll arrives and takes charge of the site, revealing he's been secretly tracking ancient supernatural mysteries for years, including the story of an Egyptian princess named Ahmanet. Jekyll explains her story. Ahmanet was in line to inherit the throne of Egypt until her father, the pharaoh, has a son with his second wife, stripping her of her claim to power. Furious and desperate, Ahmanet makes a dark pact with Set, the ancient Egyptian god of death, trading her soul for immense destructive power. In a fit of rage, she murders her father, his new wife, and her own infant half-brother. She then attempts to complete a ritual using a ceremonial dagger to bring Set fully into the physical world. Before she can finish it, the pharaoh's priests catch her, punishing her by mummifying her alive and sealing her sarcophagus in a tomb far from Egypt, in a location meant to keep her hidden and imprisoned forever. Quick heads up before we continue. If ancient curses and betrayals like this one are your thing, hit subscribe now so you don't miss what happens when this curse wakes back up in the present day. The story shifts to present-day Iraq, where U.S. Army Sergeant Nick Morton and his friend Corporal Chris Vail are technically part of a military reconnaissance team, but are secretly using their position to loot ancient artifacts and sell them on the black market. During a firefight with insurgents, Nick accidentally calls in an airstrike that blows open a massive underground chasm, revealing an ancient tomb sealed deep beneath the desert. Nick, Chris, and Jenny descend into it, along with archaeologist Jenny Halsey, who Nick had previously slept with under false pretenses to steal a map and letter connected to the very same tomb. Inside, they find an eerie chamber, statues positioned to face inward, and heavy chains submerged in pools of mercury, clearly designed to imprison something incredibly dangerous. Nick, driven by curiosity, shoots one of the chains loose, accidentally freeing Ahmanet's sarcophagus and setting the coming chaos into motion. Almost immediately, venomous camel spiders swarm the tomb, and Chris is bitten by one before the group manages to escape. As the team flies home aboard a military transport plane, Chris's condition rapidly deteriorates. Now behaving erratically and clearly no longer himself, he violently kills their commanding officer, Colonel Greenway, forcing Nick to shoot him in self-defense. Moments later, the plane crashes. Nick wakes up completely unharmed in a morgue back in Oxford, inexplicably alive despite the crash, and is immediately confronted by the ghost of Chris, who reveals that Nick has been cursed by Ahmanet. She intends to use him as her chosen vessel to bring Set fully into the world. Meanwhile, at the crash site, Ahmanet's mummified body reanimates and begins feeding on rescue workers and police officers to regenerate her decayed body, turning her victims into mindless zombie-like servants under her control. Jenny, shaken by news of Nick's survival, meets up with Nick. She explains that the ritual requires both the dagger of Set and a matching ruby to work, and that Ahmanet already has the dagger's blade with her. Ahmanet catches up to Nick and Jenny, controlling her zombie officers to trap Nick and pull the dagger free herself, attempting to stab him and complete the ritual. But she discovers the ruby isn't attached to the dagger yet, meaning the ritual can't be finished. Jenny interrupts the confrontation just in time, giving Nick the opening to escape with her. As Ahmanet and her undead followers give chase, a group of unknown soldiers ambush her and subdue her, capturing her completely. The soldiers bring Nick and Jenny to a hidden headquarters beneath the London Natural History Museum, run by none other than Dr. Henry Jekyll. Jekyll reveals that Jenny has secretly been an agent all along for Prodigium, a secret society dedicated to hunting and containing supernatural threats. Jekyll explains that Nick was cursed the moment he broke the seal on Ahmanet's tomb, and that she intends to use him specifically as Set's vessel in the physical world. Nick and Jenny watch as Jekyll's team keeps Ahmanet restrained in the lab, planning to paralyze her with mercury before eventually dissecting her, a plan both Nick and Jenny find disturbing. While there, Ahmanet, still able to influence Nick psychologically, tempts him with visions of godlike power if he simply lets her complete the ritual on him. Nick, uncertain of his own morality, starts to genuinely question whether he's a good person at all, even as Jenny insists she believes he is. Realizing the ruby is still missing, the group travels separately into the London crypts to search the original Crusader's tomb, the same tomb uncovered at the very start of the film, and successfully recover the ruby buried there centuries earlier. Jekyll, growing increasingly obsessed with destroying Set once and for all, reveals his real plan back at Prodigium. He intends to let Set fully possess Nick, believing that doing so will make the ancient god vulnerable enough to be killed for good, a plan that would almost certainly kill Nick in the process. If you didn't see that plan coming, this is exactly where this story turns from a monster hunt into something way darker. Smash the like button if you're hooked, because the next part is where everything falls apart. As tensions rise, Jekyll begins losing control of his own dark side, transforming into his violent alternate personality, Edward Hyde. At the same time, Ahmanet manages to possess a Prodigium technician using one of her spider familiars, breaking free of her restraints and unleashing chaos throughout the facility. Hyde, now fully in control, attacks Nick directly, offering him a twisted alliance before the fight turns brutal. Nick manages to stop him by injecting him with the same serum Jekyll normally uses to suppress Hyde, reverting him, and buying Nick and Jenny the chance to escape the collapsing facility. Ahmanet, meanwhile, recovers the dagger of Set and successfully sets the ruby into its pommel, finally completing the weapon. She summons an entire army of undead Crusader knights and, using her restored power, shatters windows across London to whip up a massive, city-engulfing sandstorm, throwing the city into chaos as she hunts down Nick to finish what she started. Guided by the lingering ghost of Chris, Nick and Jenny flee into the London underground subway tunnels, but Ahmanet's undead Crusaders catch up to them there, forcing a desperate, chaotic fight. In the middle of the chaos, Ahmanet captures Jenny and drowns her right in front of Nick. Devastated and enraged, Nick is brought before Ahmanet, and the moment he sees Jenny's lifeless body, every one of Ahmanet's zombie soldiers instantly crumbles to dust around them, severed from her control by the sheer shock of the moment. Nick, badly injured after trying to attack Ahmanet head-on, makes a desperate decision instead. He lets Ahmanet pull him into an embrace, using it as a ruse to steal the completed dagger from her hands. He smashes the pommel against the ground, cracking the ruby in an attempt to destroy it for good and stop the ritual. But Ahmanet stops him, reminding him that the dagger's power doesn't just serve her, it could also grant him the power to bring Jenny back to life. Faced with an impossible choice, Nick makes the twist decision the entire film has been building towards. Instead of destroying the dagger, he turns it on himself, stabbing his own chest and allowing Set to possess his body directly, exactly as Jekyll had originally planned, except now it's happening entirely on Nick's own terms. As Set begins to fully take over Nick's body, he starts walking towards Ahmanet to complete their pact. But in that moment, Nick looks over at Jenny's dead body and remembers both her words and Jekyll's warning about what's at stake. Fighting back against Set's control from within his own mind, Nick manages to regain command over his own body and the god's power now flowing through him. Instead of joining Ahmanet, he uses Set's own strength to overpower her, draining her life force completely and reducing her back down to a shriveled, lifeless mummy for good. With Ahmanet finally destroyed and Set's power still coursing through Nick, he uses that same power to bring Jenny back to life. Before Set's influence can fully consume him again, Nick says a quiet goodbye to Jenny and disappears, choosing to remove himself from her life rather than risk becoming a danger to her or anyone else. In the aftermath, Jenny reunites with Dr. Jekyll. In the film's final scene, Nick returns to the desert, using his newfound powers to resurrect his old friend Chris Vail, fully healed and alive again. The two set off together on a new journey across the sand, searching for a way to control or possibly reverse the curse now bound to Nick forever, leaving his story open-ended, caught somewhere between man and monster, hero and something far more dangerous. If this recap kept you hooked all the way to that ending, subscribe now. This channel breaks down full movies just like this one every week, twists, endings, and everything in between, so you never miss the next one.